I'd like to welcome listeners and viewers to this interview on behalf of CDO magazine and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. And it's going to be a discussion with our distinguished guests, Robert Abate and Maria Villar, on the job description for the CDO, a topic which has vexed us all over the 10 or so years of our involvement, both with the Society, the MIT CDO Symposium. Now, Maria is currently the head of Enterprise Data Strategy and Transformation at SAP. She has previously been a CDO in 3 organizations. She's a member of the ISCDO board and a member of Women in Data and AI. So I'm just amazed that you have time to join us today. Not to be outdone by Robert, who is the CEO and founder of BandJam. He is the CEO and founder of InfoImmersion, both current companies, and previously has been the Global Director of Enterprise Information Management and Analytics at Kimberly-Clark, and is also a member of the ISCDO board. So welcome to you both to this discussion on behalf of the Society about some work you both did on the CDO job description. Can I begin by asking the obvious question? I know I've said that we were all vexed about what a CDO is, but what brought the two of you to the realization that we needed a CDO job description?
Let me start. Certainly, this was an effort that Robert took on for the ISCDO, and we had been discussing as a board member team that we wanted the ISCDO, because we are a community of chief data officers, very experienced chief data officers. We wanted to be that trusted source for the job description. And we get asked, I know when I work with customers, I get asked all the time, so do you have a job description? We're in the point of hiring for a CDO, but we don't have a job description. Can you provide one? And so I also personally felt that as an ISCDO, we should have a point of view about the job description, and who better than us, because we are all CDOs and have a varied set of experiences and reasons why we took the role.
To add to what Maria noted, the International Society of Chief Data Officers is a vendor-neutral professional organization. We were established for and by CDOs to promote data leadership. The ISCDO is a professional society of individuals who serve in the role of chief data officers and provide that guidance to its organization. And we serve as a peer-to-peer advisory resource for all our members, for chief data officers, chief digital officers, chief data and analytics officers, and chief analytics officers, which is why we decided to create the document, the best practices document called a CDO job description. And we that impetus was because there were so many different corporations as well as members who were asking us, is there an industry standard? Is there a best practice description for a chief data officer? And we noted that, even though the CDO job descriptions vary widely based upon their scope, their organizational position, their industry, and even geographic location, this should be considered when looking at a best practices document. So we created that, we evaluated it for applicability, and created what we called the role title, as well as with the nascent tenure of this role and the lack of standardization, scope, and responsibilities, we felt it best to develop those responsibilities of a chief data officer.
Thank you. I guess we're not going to be hubristic enough to suggest that this is it, and we have defined the chief data officer, and all chief data officers must look like this, are we?
No, I think this is a first draft based on a wide variety of input. Maria and I first authored the document, and we shared it amongst a number of industry thought leaders. So this is the first attempt, and I'm sure it will grow over time, both in its content and in its structure. Maria, you might want to add to that.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, in addition to getting input from some industry experts and others, we also made it available to the rest of the society. So we allowed them, as you remember, Michael, an opportunity to vet that document out. And we've got some great input from that. So again, it goes back to it's really a job description based by us practicing experts in the role. The other consideration for the job description is that you'll read it and it's about a 5-page document, I think now, Robert, right? And you go, no way, there's no human possible that can do all of that. And there's probably some truth to that. I mean, the CDO role is meant to be customized. The job description is meant to be customized. All CDO, CDAO, head of data roles are customized. It depends on the priorities of the business, the maturity, where you want that reporting and the remit, and even the title, right, Robert? We had some interesting discussions and input on the title. Should it be a CDO job description or is it a CDAO job description? And what we kind of left it is that there are varied titles, and the title can be Chief Data Officer, Chief Data and Analytics. It could be Head of Data, and that's really not as important as that it is that most senior position responsible for data in the organization, and that's the remit for this role. So that's I think some additional features we added to the job description.
And to add to that, we actually took that perspective of given the role, we introduced the role. We then go on to a summation of responsibilities. We describe the primary responsibilities of a chief data officer. And then we also take into consideration things like knowledge, skills, and abilities, and qualifications, and then a characterization of the role. So in this regard, what we've done is a starting point for chief data officers to, and also for those looking to hire a chief data officer, give them the big picture of what is involved in being a head of data for an organization.
I think that was interesting use of language right at the end there, Robert, where you talked about the head of data. So, and we've talked about the various titles. So it's about the data leader.
Correct.
But I think we could also perhaps characterize this job description as being a document that tries to narrow down the wide variety that the three of us have seen in job descriptions, in job adverts for chief data officers or data leaders, where people have had to have experience in subjects that have 10 years experience in subjects that have only been out for 4 years. They've had to be a programmer in 15 different languages and all this. And actually what we want to bring people's vision back to is the role of the data leader within the organization. I mean, that's really what we're trying to achieve here, isn't it?
Yes. Maria, I want you to expand upon that because you tended to focus in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was less about the technical requirements and more about again the responsibilities. And one of the things that I found really useful in the document is that again it's multiple pages of priorities and responsibilities, but kind of in the beginning we say, look, there's really 3 main job responsibilities of a chief data officer. And then we articulate those 3 main areas into the respective sub responsibilities. But the 3 main areas are that there's a data strategy role that a chief data officer has. And then, what are the key responsibilities under that, including things like measuring business value and creating, opportunities, and how do you have the right levels of data strategy capability. So there's a data strategy set of responsibilities, but then there's also a data execution. There's an execution and a roadmap set of responsibilities. And there you've got, some technical responsibilities and management responsibilities. And then the third is the sort of the culture, the culture building, the leadership, the communication. And so those are the 3 primary tasks that we saw that were consistent really across all the CDOs that we interviewed. And then within that, what are the subcategories or sub responsibilities. And I think that also makes the document easier to digest too, rather than having 5 pages of responsibilities. It's really, hey, if you had to articulate that role of the chief data officer to someone with 2 minutes, you'd say, look, there's a data strategy role, an execution, a roadmap, and then a culture.
Excellent. And I was just thinking that actually this whole piece is about that description of the leadership. And what I particularly liked about the work that you led was the use of how you use the verbs to describe the roles, so that I think I'm right in saying, and you know, I'm open to that particular argument, that what you're saying in the job description is that the CDO, the data leader, doesn't need to be the expert in everything, but they need to be able to lead their team of experts through that range of topics and into the business, so that everybody gets that sort of greater understanding. I know it's a new term for many, but data literacy, the understanding of the data. And I think that's particular. Was that one of your particular aims in how you sort of wrote the piece?
Yes, I would say that one of the points here to developing this document was to drive the literacy of the position and its requirements. So driving data literacy, building and maintaining data relationships, data-driven decision-making, skills development and training, and leadership qualities are all areas that we refer to as one of the 3 areas of cultural other that a chief data officer or that leader of data within an organization would have to have. And they don't have to be an expert. We actually describe what are the primary responsibilities, and those primary responsibilities would include an enterprise data vision, a data strategy, a plan for investments, adopting standards, classifications or policies, and alike. And those items that we list as primary responsibilities would be for anyone who led the data for an organization.
Maria, have you anything to add on that particular topic?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as Robert said, the head of data role, the chief data officer, cannot be an expert on everything. I mean, that's why you also staff accordingly. You know, if you're a good leader, you understand what your strengths are and what your weaknesses, and you then staff your weaknesses as well, probably more and faster, so that you can complete the role. But again, I think it's also very important that chief data officer has great communication skills. I mean, that was also something that came up in our job description, that capability to be able to communicate and lead a team of others, and to be able to translate that data strategy into business value for the business community, those that pay the bills, but also for the employees at large that have to take on that the data management roles and responsibilities. So yeah, I think there's a lot there that that the CDO actually leads in, not necessarily does everything, you know, as in all leadership roles, obviously.
Oh no, indeed, and I think it's particularly good that we've actually, somebody has come and written down those points. And I think I don't know what your view is on this one. Hopefully you're going to tell me. I see this document here as part of a sort of one of the legs of the 3-legged stool supporting the CDO that you and Robert have been working on for the society, in junction with the sort of first 90 days of the CDO document that you're producing, and the particularly useful job common vocabulary. I mean, was that the aim? It was to make it a part of a series of documents that can actually sort of provide that wrap of support to the CDO?
Yeah, I'll let Robert answer that because I mean he's the one that spearheaded those three work items. I've been supporting him on that, but he's really led the charge, I found them to be incredibly useful. I've offered them up when I do coach other new CDOs. I say, hey, you've got to take a look at these three documents, and it's really interesting that even though a CDO may be hired, they still ask for the job description. Which is interesting, right? You would think that the job description came before before they got hired, but oftentimes, they're in the role and then they're kind of asked to define their scope in more detail. And that CDO job description helps them to do that. But the other documents also, the 30, 60, 90 days, I mean, that's such a useful document for new CDOs coming into an organization. And to have that written down and made available to the society members, that's fantastic. And then of course the terminology, I mean, that's a never ending thing. We as data folks, we seem to love to invent new words, in addition to adding to the classics. So yeah, the keeping that alive and well and having that available is also extremely useful.
It makes me laugh when you say that because this all started with a discussion around sharing our knowledge, being chief data officers or heads of data, with other CDOs so that we could collaborate and create some basic documents that would assist someone who was either new into the role or even, leaders who had been in the role. Felt maybe there would be help in understanding what others had gone through. So we actually started with the development of a CDO 90-day action plan, which was when you come into a role as a head of data, what should you be thinking or looking at in terms of your first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days? And in terms of best practices, and that comes from talking and interviewing a number of industry thought leaders. There seemed to be a standard way or approach people would take on the role in the first 90 days. So that started the documents from the ISCDO perspective. We next were asked by a number of individuals, okay, you started 90 days. Well, so what is the real job description or what is the role entail of being a chief data officer? And that started actually a discussion within the ISCDO. We all knew that the CDO has the responsibility for identifying and creating value from data assets. In fact, the credo of the ISCDO is increasing data value. But it led to a discussion of mission, and that led us to what is the mission of a chief data officer? Well, we came up with it's to enable and leverage information so that an organization can move toward a data-driven business model whereby critical business decisions are supported with trusted data, business intelligence, and advanced analytics. And of course, once you start with a mission, then you say, well, what's the accountability? And from that, what would be needed in that role? The accountability, we looked at, finding data sources, cataloging, inventorying, articulating vision and strategy, and a champion for data management, governance, quality, and vendor relationships across the enterprise in terms of data. But we quickly learned that a CDO must also be an effective communicator. They work as a trusted advisor. And the reporting structure came into question because some CDOs report directly to a president, which would be what we feel to be the best role for that. But others report to CIOs, some to business customers. So it was in this discussion that we saw the need for a definitional document that starts the conversation in the industry about what is the CDO and what is their role to drive business incomes using data, obviously, making data readily accessible to the right people so they see accurate data at the appropriate time for the purpose they're looking for and with the right intent as a key success. Those were our impetus to create this document. And we also wanted to know what other responsibilities or areas as chief data officer has as part of their role, which obviously is compliance with data regulations, education regarding best practices and utilizing data, and recently with ethics and the correct intent being applied.
I think you've just summarized the whole point of our chat there, Robert. Thank you. And I think that's That's brilliant. I mean, that was the whole point. It was to produce a document that has actually got a great deal of value. And I know a couple of my CDO chums would have wanted this document with them when they first took over, if for no other reason than to be able to go back to the board and their fellow C-suite executives and say, this is what I really am about, not what you think I'm about. This is the role of the CDO and how I'm going to help you get value from the data that we are creating, capturing, etc. And I think, firstly, thank you for coming today to talk about the work that you led. It's invaluable, and on behalf of all the users that you're going to have for that document, I want to thank you, because you know, they're not going to have that opportunity to come up to you and say, you know, actually I know what I'm doing now, you know, or I know the sort of person I'm really trying to hire. So thank you for that. I can tell you that the ISCDO are going to have this up on our website, which is at www.iscdo.org by Monday the 13th. Why not? It's going to be open for everybody, so that if you're a member, if you're not a member, you can visit the site and get a hold of a copy of this or have a read of this document, because we feel as a society, and I know that's the how you've expressed it, Robert, that we ought to share this particular document. Perhaps only one leg of the three-legged stool will we share quite so freely, but we will share this and enable people to benefit from the great work that you two led. So just to reiterate, thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon. I hope that our listeners have gone away having learned a great deal, and we'll look forward to listening to future podcasts, video casts from CDO magazine, which is also a part of the three-legged stool that is the ISCDO, the CDO magazine, and the upcoming MIT CDO IQ Symposium, which will take place online and in person. And 30 seconds on that, Robert, just before we close.
Sure. The Chief Data Officer Information Quality Conference started at MIT, is the premier conference for chief data officers and leaders of data. It is both on-site and virtual, July 19th through 21st at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And Maria is one of the track producers, as well as, I believe, one of the women in data presenters. So we're very fortunate to have a number of industry thought leaders speaking at that, and we're excited about it. Since from the problem of COVID not being able to meet in person, getting that interaction with other chief data officers, allowing for those questions and answers and presentations is something I know that I look forward to, and I'm sure Maria, you do as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, but I'm going to be a moderator on a panel on how to give a board presentation on data strategy. So that should be pretty interesting. Yep.
Oh, that's
very relevant.
Excellent. Thanks very much indeed.